If you clicked on this video, there's a pretty good chance that at some point in your life, you probably asked a narcissist or otherwise abusive, toxic person to treat you better. And when you did that, it probably didn't result in anything good. The conversation probably went around in circles. You probably ended up defending yourself over things that don't matter or didn't happen. And you probably ended up wondering why. Why can't a narcissist just treat you better? And that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. There are real, concrete reasons that narcissists simply won't ever treat you better. And we're going to break all those down in today's video. One thing I want to preface everything with, and this is an idea that I'm going to keep coming back to throughout this video, is the fact that your reality differs from the narcissist's reality. You live in different realities. Now, in my opinion, one reality, probably yours, is much closer to actual reality than the narcissist's. In my opinion, the narcissist lives in a fantasy world where everything's backwards and upside down. But that's their reality. That's what's real to them. That's what they believe in. So to them, and as far as what you can expect from them, it doesn't really matter how far off base they are. That's their reality, and that's what they're going to make their decisions based on. You have your own reality, which is probably closer to actual reality, but it doesn't really matter if you're trying to get somebody who lives in a fantasy world to see things your way. So that's what we're going to break down. Let's start at the beginning of the relationship. Now, the things I'm going to say in today's video are principles that can be applied to any type of narcissistic relationship. A family member, a friend, a coworker, a boss, all of these things. But just for simplicity, I'm going to frame this as if it's a romantic relationship. But just keep in mind that the principles of what I'm saying can be applied to any type of relationship that you might have with a narcissist. So in the beginning of starting to understand what narcissism is and how it works, and the concept of narcissistic supply, which is external validation, you might wonder, why can't the narcissist just treat me better? Why can't they just be nice? And then I'll keep giving them supply, which is admiration and attention and validation, if that's what they really, really, really want. Why can't they just be nice? And why can't I just keep giving them supply? And then we'll just all be happy and continue living a decent, happy life. Why can't they just do that? Why do they have to destroy the relationship when I'm willing to cooperate and do what it is they need, as long as they provide me with the bare minimum of what I need? So to answer this question, let's start at the beginning of the relationship. And I first need to clarify, especially to validate some of you that might be watching, in the very beginning of a romantic relationship with a narcissist, or maybe a friendship, but when you meet as adults, there are what I would call sociopaths out there that are completely aware that they are duping you, that they are pretending to care about you, they're sweet talking you, they're trying to get something out of you, and they're completely aware that they don't really have feelings for you, and they're just 100% consciously being a fraud, okay? That to me is a sociopath. There are a lot of people that do that, so that's a real thing, but that's not really what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about what I consider to be more of a run-of-the-mill garden variety narcissist, okay? When narcissists begin a relationship, most of them actually think they're in love, when in reality, they're just infatuated. Now, most of us can probably relate to this, okay? even if we're not consciously aware of it. Most of us have at some point in our lives been infatuated with somebody that we didn't really know very well. And we may have tricked ourselves into thinking that we were totally in love with this person that we didn't really know. And the reasons for that are complicated. We make up a fantasy in our head of who we think this person is and how that makes us feel about ourselves. Also just the thrill and the euphoria of a new person and maybe the attention they're paying to you and all of that, right? All the new thrill of a new relationship and all the infatuation. I think most of us can relate to that. But for a narcissist, that's all there ever is. There's nothing deeper that develops after that new thrill wears off. And they don't understand, and they never really grow and mature to come to the understanding that those feelings of euphoria, those feelings of infatuation are really quite superficial. They're fun, right? But they're very surface level. There's no depth to it, and there's no real deep meaning to it. It's just a fun, thrilling phase that a lot of us will go through when we are starting a romantic relationship. But to a narcissist, that's all there ever is. There is nothing deeper or more meaningful that ever develops. And to a narcissist, this new thrill has more meaning than it might to somebody else, because to a narcissist, this new thrill is validating their ego in a way that they depend on much more heavily than some of us might. Narcissists have extremely fragile egos, and they are always trying to find external validation. They cannot validate their own self-worth on their own. They need something outside of them at all times, making them feel like they're a worthwhile person. And a new, exciting infatuation can do that for them. It can be this supply that we keep talking about, right? But when the infatuation, when the new thrill wears off, so does the way that it's feeding their ego. So does the way that it's helping them block out all of these emotional problems that they're constantly dealing with. When you start a new relationship with a narcissist, they really feel like you're going to solve all of their emotional problems for them for the rest of their life. You're making them feel good about themselves, and that's going to last forever, right? Because they're on cloud nine, and you're doing that for them. And they're not consciously realizing that this is all based on a fantasy of who they think you are, who they imagine you are, and the worth that they imagine you're giving them as a person. All of that is something we can all relate to, but to a narcissist, that's everything. And when that goes away, there's nothing left of worth. And now they're pushed back to this place where they have to start dealing with these feelings of worthlessness and insecurity that they're constantly battling. And because they think that the whole world revolves around them and everything is all about them, no matter what, they think that you did something to change things. They think that you're the reason that they don't feel infatuated and like they're on cloud nine 24/7 anymore. You did something on purpose to change. You tricked them. And so how does this relate to the way that they will start treating you like garbage? Well, they're upset with you. They're mad that you ruined everything, even though it all happened in their imagination, in their version of reality, which is really just a fantasy world. In their version of reality, you changed. You tricked them. You took away these good feelings that got them hooked in the beginning. And so now you deserve to be treated like garbage. You deserve to be disrespected. In your reality, which is closer to actual reality, you were in a really great relationship. Everything was going really well. And then one day, for no apparent reason, they just suddenly didn't seem to love you anymore. They just suddenly started criticizing every little thing about you, and you couldn't do anything right. And all the wonderful things that seemed to be part of this relationship just vaporized for no apparent reason. Now, to go a little deeper into why this means that they're going to treat you like garbage, in the beginning of the relationship, this infatuation, this euphoria, this shot of supply that they got that was making them feel so good about themselves, that was enough to motivate them to want to treat you really well because they were really getting something out of it. For a narcissist, it takes a lot of effort and work to do things for somebody else. So all those little things they were doing for you, the gifts they were buying, those little things they did to show you that they were thinking about you, or the ways they were helping you out, all those nice little things they did, for them, that took a lot of effort. But because they were still riding on this wave of new thrill and supply, it felt like it was worth it to them, all this work, all this effort, right? But now that this new thrill has worn off, now that in their mind, now that you've shown yourself for who you really are, just some normal person, well, why should they have to go to all that trouble? Why should they have to go to all that work and keep being nice and thinking about you? A narcissist's comfort zone, a narcissist's default comfort zone is a place where they don't have to think about anyone else. They can be mean and reactionary, and they can just lash out at you anytime they're even slightly annoyed. That's their comfort level. It's hard for them to be thoughtful and nice and to bite their tongue when they want to lash out. So now that you've disappointed them so heavily by being a real person, why should they go to the trouble of being nice? To bring it back to something that most of us can relate to, imagine that you're in a brand new relationship and it's really exciting and the thrill and the infatuation is there, right? But your partner, maybe they leave their towel on the bed all the time, okay? And it's, at first, it's kind of cute, because you're just so infatuated, right? But then after you've been in the relationship for a few years, maybe it stops being cute and it just starts being a little annoying. Like, why can't they hang their towel up, right? But if you're a narcissist, when these things happen over time, it's not just that these things that they once thought were cute are kind of annoying now. It's they imagine that their partner is leaving the towel on the bed just to bother them. And they read way more into it than any normal person would. Their partner is trying to bother them by leaving the towel on the bed. And their partner is trying to rub it in that they really got the best of them. Their partner thinks they're some kind of sucker because they hooked them in the beginning and then they just turned out to not be at all who they presented themselves as, and now they're doing all these things on purpose just to bother them. So of course they're going to lash out when you leave your towel on the bed, or lash out at you when you use the wrong brand of laundry detergent, or you buy the wrong kind of hot dogs, because obviously you did that on purpose just to bother them, just to rub salt in the wounds. So how did you expect them to treat you? When you're in a relationship with a narcissist, there is a storm of problems in their head that they won't communicate with you, that they really don't understand themselves. But all of those things in their mind are your fault. And these are things you don't even know about. And so that's why, from your perspective, in your reality, you're just minding your own business, doing your own thing, and this person just suddenly lashes out at you and treats you as if you've purposefully done something terrible to ruin their life, when all you've done is leave your towel on the bed, because you can't see the way that the narcissist is blaming everything on you, things that you don't even realize that they're dealing with. So when we get 2 years or 5 years or 15 years or 30 years into the relationship, and we're tired of being treated like garbage, and we're tired of begging them to treat us a little bit better, we can come to this point where we wonder, why can't they just be decent, right? And when we get this far into the relationship, your reality is probably one where you try your very, very best. You try and try and try so hard to make them happy, or at least to not make them angry, right? Or if you've if your spirit is completely broken and you've totally given up, you at least try not to bother them. You try not to antagonize them or cause unnecessary conflict, probably. And yet, no matter what you do, one way or the other, they are going to treat you like garbage. They're going to disrespect you, humiliate you, criticize everything you do. Maybe they will even threaten you, yell at you. There might be some violence involved depending on their personality and how out of control they might be. And there doesn't seem to be anything you can do to stop it. And in your reality, which is closer to actual reality, it doesn't matter what you do. You're not doing anything to cause this, even though they might be insisting that you are. Because now in their reality, you are constantly making them angry. You're constantly doing things to make them act this way. And I think this is a gap between your two realities that can really cause a lot of confusion and can be the reason that you're asking the question that this whole video is addressing. Why can't you just be decent? Why can't you just treat me better? Because to a narcissist, this is all your fault. And I think when you realize this, it can be very jarring, really shocking, very upsetting, understandably so. Because I think when we get to the point where we're asking the narcissist to treat us better, we don't necessarily understand that we're living in two alternate realities. We assume, or I know I did, we assume that the narcissist understands that they're being terrible, that they're treating us like garbage for no good reason, and that they should not do that. We assume that we're coming from the same premise because their behavior is so over the top, awful, and abusive. Of course they understand that they shouldn't be treating you this way. So it can be very jarring and very upsetting and confusing to realize that they don't think they're doing anything wrong. Now, don't confuse this with a lack of accountability. They do know that they're doing terrible things. They do know they're doing things that they shouldn't do. And this is why they will treat you better in front of other people and treat you like crap when no one's looking, because they understand that they shouldn't be acting this way. But the missing puzzle piece here is they feel like they have a right to treat you this way. They really believe that you deserve it. But of course, they're not going to treat you like crap in front of other people because other people wouldn't understand and other people might judge them. Here's an analogy I've used several times. Imagine that you're a 6-year-old in school and you have your books on the edge of your table and there's a kid that walks by and knocks your books off the table, okay? Or off your desk. And when you try to confront this kid, he says, oh, sorry, it was an accident, right? But you feel like he's doing it on purpose. And then it happens again. Maybe it happens 2 or 3 times. Now, is it an accident? I mean, nobody knows. We don't know. The kid that is knocking your books off the desk is claiming that he didn't mean to, and you know, he's apologizing, okay? But you as a 6-year-old, you know he's doing it on purpose. And you're going to get him for that, okay? You're getting really angry at this kid knocking your books off the desk all the time. So you feel, as a little 6-year-old, having this happen to you, you feel justified in doing something. And maybe what you decide to do is next time you walk by this kid's desk, you're going to kick him in the shins, okay? Now, you know you're not supposed to do that. You know that if the teacher sees you do this, you're probably going to get in trouble, right? So you're going to do it in a way that nobody sees, but you're going to kick this kid in the shins because he deserves it, because he keeps knocking your books off the desk. This is just how narcissists look at the way they're treating you. Other people aren't going to understand because they know that they shouldn't kick you in the shins. They know that they're not supposed to do that, but they also feel very strongly that you deserve it. And so it's this conflict between understanding that what they're doing is wrong, but also feeling like they're completely justified in doing it. So the reality is when you ask them, why can't you just treat me better? What they would counter with is, well, why can't you just stop making me so angry? Going back to the perception of reality, narcissists judge reality on their emotions, on how they feel. How they feel is their reality, and it is the foundation of their reality. It is their evidence, their proof. The fact that they're angry at you, that they feel this anger, is the proof, the evidence that you did something to make them mad. So they already, quote, know that. They already know that you did something. What did you do? They don't know, but they know you did something. And the reason they know that is because they feel like you did something. And so this is why they will justify their behavior by bringing up something that you did 5 years ago, or they'll suddenly express anger over something that never bothered them before. Their justifications for the way they treat you don't make any sense because they're brought up after the proof that they feel. They believe that it's your fault first, and then they grasp for reasons to justify it. And that's why the justifications usually don't make any sense. And a few other things to understand when you're trying to ask a narcissist to treat you better. First of all, they don't think they're doing anything wrong. They think you did something to make them mad. And so, while in reality, they are the ones who are constantly trying to dodge accountability, they feel like you're trying to dodge accountability for the things you did to make them so mad. Even when they can't even tell you what it is you did to make them so mad, when you're asking them to treat you better, to them it's like you want to just skip over all those terrible things you did to make them so angry, even though nobody knows what those things are. So in reality, in your reality, narcissists will do anything to avoid accountability. In fact, that's kind of where all this has come from in the first place. They can't take accountability for their own feelings. They can't stop and reflect and think, why am I so angry? Instead, they just blame it on you. Well, it's because of you, obviously, because they don't want to think about anything that might bring responsibility back onto them. And I probably shouldn't use the word can't, because they can if they want to. They can self-reflect. They can think honestly about the things they've done, but they choose not to. They're extremely averse to those things because they really, really, really cannot stomach accountability. And so they turn all these things around on you. They project all these things onto you. And when you're asking them, hey, can you just be nicer? They feel like, oh, sure. After all those awful things you did to me, you want me to just be nicer to you? And they feel like you're the one trying to dodge accountability. Another problem that you'll run into is if the narcissist could overcome their own pride and ego and decide, okay, I'm going to treat you better now. They would first have to admit to themselves that they're accountable for the way they've been treating you. They are accountable for the way they've been treating you, right? But they don't want to admit that to themselves. They have this narrative in their head of, you're the one that made me do this. You're the one that made me angry. You're the one that made me act this way. So if they are suddenly now capable of treating you better, that means they were always capable of treating you better. And they don't want to face that kind of accountability. And so that's another reason that they're not going to change the way they treat you. Now, they might do it if they have something to gain, if they're compelled to regain control of you, and they just act nicer for a little while to get you back on the hook, to get you back under control. But when they do that, this is part of the reason that it really bothers them. It takes an enormous amount of effort for them to temporarily treat you better. And they feel like they're some kind of sucker, like you're taking advantage of them, like you're forcing them to do this and this isn't right and they shouldn't have to go through all this effort just to gain control of somebody that they shouldn't have been trying to get away from them in the first place. And so that's why when you go back to them after you've tried to get away and they're treating you better for a minute, that's why after that wears off, they'll actually start treating you worse because now they're angry that they had to go through all that trouble of treating you better when you didn't deserve it. And one more thing I want to explain about this, about why narcissists won't treat you better, is probably maybe pretty painful to hear, but it's, I think, important to understand when you're trying to heal from and separate yourself from this relationship. And that is that after the narcissist has integrated you into their life and they're not treating you very well, they are using you as a scapegoat. You're serving that function for them. You are someone that they can use as an emotional punching bag, as somebody that they can blame all of their anger on. You're somebody that's helping them regulate their emotions in a very unhealthy way and in a way that greatly hurts you, right? But that's the function you serve for them. And they need you for that. They need somebody to be a scapegoat. They need people in their lives that they can blame everything on so that they don't have to take accountability. So if you could somehow force them to treat you better, what's left for them in this relationship is nothing that they value. The thrill of the initial infatuation has long since worn off. That's not there anymore. And the only thing now that they're getting out of this relationship is the way that they can use you as a scapegoat and, you know, maybe all the things that you do for them. But when you take that away by demanding that they treat you better, by demanding that they stop blaming you for everything and taking all of their frustrations out on you, there's nothing of value left in that relationship. They value you for the way that they are able to control you. You make them feel important by being someone that they can emotionally control, by being somebody that they can blame everything on. They don't value any of the things that you value. In your reality, this relationship has history and sentiment to it. This person means something to you. You probably still love this person, and that has value. The time you've spent with this person, these things have value. To the narcissist, in their reality, which is separate from yours, in the narcissist's reality, none of those things mean anything. The value that you hold for them are all the things that hurt you. The things that mean something to them, the things that they keep you around for, are things that will hurt you. And when you take away the things that hurt you from them, there's nothing left of value to them anymore. So there's no reason for them to even stick around if they have to treat you better. I know this is impossibly infuriating to be with somebody that hurts you so deeply and can't even acknowledge that they shouldn't be doing that and that there's no good reason for it, that all of the efforts, all of the things you've tried to do to make them happy, all the feelings you've had for them, all those things, they cannot see them and they don't care about them. I mean, this is really infuriating and it's extremely painful to come to terms with. It's heartbreaking. But I think the only way forward to heal and to recover from this kind of emotional abuse is to recognize that we deserve better. And when somebody believes that they have a right to hurt you, you can't reason with someone like that. And it's not worth it. That person is not worth your time and effort. You deserve better. You deserve to be with somebody that lives in the same reality that you do. A reality where you give and take for each other. You listen to each other. And a reality where you both deserve to be treated with decency and respect. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.